Most people think the rich are cheating the system, but here's the truth. The wealthy pay little to nothing in taxes without breaking a single rule. They're not hiding money. They're not gaming the IRS. They're just following the code better than anyone else. In this video, I'll break down exactly how the tax law is actually designed to help you pay less tax and how the wealthy legally use it to pay 0%. The tax code isn't a punishment. It's a roadmap. If you follow it, you win the tax game. So what's the biggest mindset difference between how the wealthy view taxes versus everyone else? The wealthy view taxes as a game, as a set of rules and guidelines for this game, and a set of incentives. They understand that the government has learned over the years that if they give a tax break, because people hate paying taxes, they admit it, you hate paying taxes. Everybody hates paying taxes. Even people who say we need higher tax rates. Nobody ever says, I want higher tax rates on me. Because guess what? If they did, they just pay extra taxes, which you're allowed to do, right? There's actually a box you can check on your tax return. So next time you hear that, say, wait a minute. You want higher taxes on other people, but you don't want higher taxes on yourself, right? Because here's the thing. Once you understand that the government uses the tax law as an incentive to do things that they want done, like create jobs or build technology, then all of a sudden your mind shifts. And all of a sudden, the tax law is not something to be afraid of. It's something to embrace. It's something to understand. It's a game. I think it's incredibly fun. Yes, it's complicated. The rules in their basic form are simple. You can understand it just as well as I can. The biggest mindset difference, I'll tell you, most people see taxes as a burden. The wealthy see taxes as a roadmap, literally a set of incentives to build wealth. That's why Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and others like them pay little to no taxes legally. They play the game by the rules anyone can use if you know them. I'm teaching those rules in my free webinar. If you're ready to shift your mindset and stop overpaying the IRS, click the link and grab your seat now. So governments use tax incentives to drive behavior. The difference between the wealthy and most people is that the wealthy listen to what the government's saying. So what kinds of investments or activities actually reduce your tax bill and can actually reduce it all the way to zero? So remember, there's actually 3 questions we need to ask in order to pay less tax. The first question is, how do I make my money? Now, I've talked about this in other videos. How you make your money has a big impact on how much tax you pay and the tax rate you pay. The second question, though, is, what do you do with your money? And the third is, what are you going to do with your money when you die? That actually has an impact as well. The question that has the biggest impact on your taxes is, what are you going to do with your money? See, if you save or spend your money, you'll be taxed on your money. If instead you invest your money in those things the government wants you to invest in. Now that does include 401ks and IRAs. That is how the average employee, because there aren't a whole lot of benefits for average employees, but that's how the average employee reduces their taxes, right? They take a deduction now and they pay taxes later. At least temporarily they're reducing their taxes, and in the meantime they're building wealth, right? So there is some sense to that. I wrote about that in my book, Win-Win Wealth Strategy. But you really want to save taxes, you want to do it permanently, not temporarily like a 401k or an IRA. That's where the big money is. And the big money is things like what the government really wants done. Business, okay? Let's say business again, because you really want to save taxes, you need a business. Whether it's converting your current job to an independent contractor, or whether it's creating a side hustle or starting a whole new business. It's not that hard. There are franchises, there are multi-level marketing opportunities, there's all sorts of business opportunities out there. You just have to find one that works for you. Business is the number 1 tax incentive. Real estate, number 2 tax incentive is real estate in every country, by the way, not just ours. And one of the magic pieces of real estate is debt. And I know there are people who say, don't use debt in real estate. But if you don't use debt in real estate, you're going to lose the tax benefits of real estate. You'll lose 80% of the tax benefits that you could get from real estate if you don't use debt. I'm just going to put it out there. If you're going to invest in real estate and you really want the tax benefits of real estate, you must be so good at real estate that you know how to use debt and that you're not afraid of debt, because there's nothing better than good debt. There is nothing worse than bad debt. So understand the differences between good debt and bad debt. Real estate's number 2. Energy is number 3. Agriculture. There are others like life insurance. There are all sorts of amazing tax benefits in the tax law. It is literally a series of incentives to reduce your taxes. So zero tax doesn't mean zero income. It does mean how do you use your money, but it also can mean get better income. There are types of income that are not taxed. I just mentioned one, life insurance. Life insurance can be a huge amount of income, not taxed. The investing that's done in a whole life policy or universal life policy, not taxed. So you can actually make money investing and not pay tax. So look at how do I get no tax income, or if I can't get no tax income or tax-free income, what about income that's taxed at a lower rate like capital gains taxes? Now, you know, the first $80,000 plus of capital gains are tax-free, zero tax rate. Remember, we have capital gains tax brackets and we have ordinary income tax brackets. They're different. And capital gains tax brackets go from 0 to 24%, right? Ordinary income brackets go from 0 to effectively 41%. So those are the different tax brackets. So you can change the nature of income and change the amount of tax you pay. So let me give you an example of one client who paid taxes legally. And this is unusual. It's probably not going to be you, but it literally happened overnight. So a new client came to me and he was in the real estate business. He was in the business of real estate, but he's still paying high taxes. He actually believed that the best type of millionaire was one that had to pay $1 million in taxes, that was the best type of millionaire. I'm going, stop. I literally put up the stop sign. Stop right now. Do not ever say that to me again, because that's ridiculous. Why would you want to pay $1 million in tax when you could use that $1 million for charity or building your business or improving your family? Why would you do that? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I can do that? I said, yeah, absolutely. It's the way you invest in real estate. So he invested in real estate in such a way that he made good money, but he was paying almost $1 million in taxes. The very next year, we just shifted the way he invests in real estate. We had him invest directly into the real estate itself, rather than investing through this series of syndications as a general partner, et cetera. We had him actually invest directly in the real estate, because the Internal Revenue Code says if you invest directly in the real estate, you're a real estate professional, you get an enormous tax write-off. It's called bonus depreciation, and it came back this year. So that was several years ago. We had bonus. It's back now, and now it's permanent. So he invested. Guess what? The very next year, he went from over $900,000 in taxes to 0. Now again, that is not a normal case. He did everything he was supposed to do. Very few people will do what they're supposed to do to take their taxes to 0. But he learned, hey, he made more money because he had found such a good investment, because he was looking for it because he wanted the tax benefits. He made so much more money, paid so little tax, 0 in his case, that he had so much more money to invest and so much more money to donate. He had a very important charity down in Central America that he was working on, and he wanted that money going down there, charity to provide wheelchairs to people who couldn't afford them. He wanted the money going there, not to the government. So if you'd rather choose where your money goes and not have it automatically go to the government, you really need a strategy, not a loophole. There are loopholes. Don't get me wrong. And if I find a loophole, am I going to use it? Yeah, absolutely, because it's legal. If it's a legal loophole, right? But a strategy is so much better, because a strategy is comprehensive. A strategy is something that everybody can do. Because remember, even if you're an employee, you can also be an investor. This is the thing, it's not either or. Can you make money as an employee and as an investor? Well, of course you can. Can you be an employee and a professional investor? Well, yes, you can. Of course you can. You have 24 hours in the day, not 8 hours in a day. So you have plenty of time. You've got to learn how to do it. You've got to get the education. The primary shift you need to make this year to moving to 0% is to shift your mindset from the tax law is a burden. It's the IRS out to get me, to the tax law is a series of incentives. It's a roadmap to reducing taxes. I just need to understand that roadmap. And once I understand that roadmap, I can follow that roadmap to 0 tax and multiple millions of dollars of wealth. I can follow it to enormous, massive wealth while paying less tax. Actually, I'm going to tell you my biggest secret on mind shift. The less taxes you pay, the more money you make. And I'm not just talking because you pay less taxes, but the less money you make, the more taxes you pay. Because the government incentives, always, if you get good at what you're doing, you'll end up with a higher return than if you don't follow the government incentives and just stick your money in the bank or you put it into a passive IRA, something like that, ETFs. So if you want to see how this plays out in real life, watch the video I made where I save my money to pay the lowest taxes humanly possible. The video's on screen now. Click on it to watch next.